host you all today. I'm just letting everyone in. Thank you for joining us. It's been a while coming, I think. There's been discussions taking place for over a year and a half, I think, together with Beren Shakun from UNESCO and ourselves to try and see if this is something that would be possible and something that we could all come together to do. So it is my absolute joy today to be with you and to walk you through this hour as we officially launch the Global EdTech Alliance of Alliances. I will hand over straight away actually to Beren. Beren is really leading the charge with this initiative and has been so wonderful and supportive in the idea of building an alliance of like alliances globally so that we can really provide a unified voice and have a capacity to have knowledge exchange between all of the organizations. And so with my deepest thanks and gratitude, I'm handing over to Beren to introduce the initiative and then his perspective. So thank you, Beren.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Beth. And colleagues, very good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you are. And I'm also, together with Beth, excited for this moment, because I think when you have a dream or when you have a expectation and you see that this is happening and taking shape, it's only a pleasure. And I would like to share this moment of joy, if I can call it so, Beth, Tom, and colleagues. I'm very honored to have this opportunity to open this moment of launching this Alliance of Alliance. And I think it's very important for us to first of all discuss on why we need this Alliance of Alliance. And I do believe there is something that probably is connecting all of us, is that we consider technology is an important vector for innovation. But I do believe that it's not only the promise of technology that is innovation, also our capacity to work together in this cohesive alliance of unified voice in EdTech will be essential for this. We cannot work together and we cannot advance this agenda without this alliance of alliances, because first of all, we need to share knowledge, we need to build expertise, we need to work together, but in particular, we need to have a voice that matters in the international discussion and dialogue when it comes to SDG 4 and education and learning more broadly. And we have been missing this. We have different alliances in different regions. Of course, the situation is uneven across regions. Some have mature EdTech alliances, other and established ecosystems. Others are still in emerging and building networks, building capacities, building partnerships. And recognize that these differences is also part of our discussion today, is how we build an alliance of alliance that has a credibility, has a voice, but is not only a space to come together, it's also a space to thrive together and to advance an agenda that is about advancing education for all. It's an agenda of leveraging the technology to leave no one behind. It's an agenda to help each and every country have its own ecosystem that is part of a regional and part of an international ecosystem. And that's, I think, what we have been discussing for more than 1 year and a half. And thanks to Beth, Tom, to my colleague Frank from UNICEF, we have been trying to give a shape to this alliance of alliances. And I'm sure we will have this presentation to discuss a bit what are those elements. But I would like to say the why is that we need a credible voice that speaks on behalf of the EdTech and have that legitimacy. The why now is because we are in a moment where technology is expected but is also challenged, and we need a credible and legitimate voice. And the how is that this alliance of alliance is an era or an area of cooperation, solidarity, and of advancing a common agenda and common values and common goals of inclusive, of sustaining, of supporting each other. So this is how I see this going forward. And just to Beth, I have a few slides where I would like to make the link with the Global Education Coalition, because we would like that the Global Education Coalition, that by now has more than 250 members, is how we can be that space of incubation for you. The coalition is not replacing the alliance of alliances, cannot replace the alliance of alliance. Is that incubator that offer space for the alliance of alliances to grow and to develop. And one important initiative in the coalition that seems to me can support this dialogue is the Digital Transformation Collaborative, where the objective is to support countries in adopting a strategy for transformation that is not about tinkering on specific area, but have a more broad, comprehensive digital transformation that covers different aspects. And that's the next slide, but is about these different element of areas that require, but obviously it's about the alliance cannot I would say cannot be supported without the foundation, and the foundation is national ecosystem that are sound, that are developed, that can contribute to the international dialogue, that can share standards and interoperable framework, that can agree on a specific direction that is giving to digital transformation in specific countries, and that can work in a multi-stakeholder partnership. So these are some of the points that I wanted to share, but let me express again, first of all, my joy that we are launching the Alliance of Alliances, but my expectation is also that this alliance will drive this agenda that we have been discussing, an agenda where we have a voice of the EdTech, where this voice is loud, is understood, is credible, is reliable, and that this voice is built organically on regional alliances that culminate all in an international collaboration, solidarity as well. And I would like to keep this word of solidarity because this is very important in our discussion today. Over to you, Beth. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Baran. And as I said before, we're so grateful for the initiative and so grateful for your support and very excited for all that is to come. I would love to hand the word now to Frank van Capella from UNICEF.
Thank you so much, Beth, and hello to everyone. I'm Frank van Capella. I lead digital education at UNICEF and the Learning Innovation Hub. And let me just start by saying how excited I am to be here. I think this is a really important occasion and very excited to be here with partners, to be here with you, Beth and Tom, and congratulations on this, and with our close partners, UNESCO and Borjan, wonderful to be here with you at this, what I think is an important moment for, as you were saying, Borjan, having this unified voice in EdTech and bringing us together for this occasion. I think it's, in a sense, this Alliance of Alliances addresses what you could say is a missing layer, with all the regional and national networks for EdTech doing fantastic work. But then how do you connect with kind of organizations such as UNESCO, such as UNICEF, kind of global organizations, and how can we best support? I think this is really a means for us to do that, to help strengthen and even maybe build these networks where they don't exist, and leading to more impactful and stronger ecosystems for EdTech around the world. In the next slide, I'll just briefly share a bit about the Learning Innovation Hub and how we might be able to support this and the areas of complementarity. We work very closely actually with EdTech companies. It's really at the heart of our work as a hub to work with the EdTech ecosystem. We have a new digital education strategy as well, which is called Going Beyond Digital as Usual. And that's really our approach to working with EdTechs. How can we innovate? How can we leverage digital to go beyond what you could say is, painting traditional learning pedagogies with a digital layer? How do you go beyond that? How do you truly leverage innovation, including AI, to bridge barriers in terms of disability, in terms of language, empowering teachers, adapting learning for every child? The potential is now really incredible. But at the same time, we have seen that over the last 20 years, there hasn't been that much impact as one would expect in terms of addressing the global learning crisis with EdTech. So we see now that this is an occasion where finally we can have that fantastic acceleration that we've been envisioning really for the last 20 years, given the new innovations, given now we know what works. So as the hub, we work across multiple different areas. We help identify actually what works in EdTech. We work with EdTech companies to evaluate their tools. That's the innovative product side through our EdTech for Good framework. And we have innovative processes such as an AI tool to bridge barriers in accessibility by producing accessible content automatically. And I think the key part is also really the system strengthening. So as Borden was saying, the national level, the national plans, the government leadership, and increasingly government investment in digital learning is also really key in how we can support that and kind of link the public and the private sector. In the next slide, I'll just speak a little bit about our new digital education strategy, which has at the heart the EdTech for Good framework, and where we use that to evaluate EdTech products. There's more than 100,000 EdTech products out there. What really are the ones that work and have the most impact and the potential to scale, especially in low resource contexts where we as UNICEF work with our partners. And in a nutshell, our new strategy is about anchoring digital transformation in the human element, the teacher in particular. The teachers are really key. And that's maybe a question for all of you is, do you have tools specifically tailored for teachers? Or if you are focusing more on learners with your EdTech tools, what means does it have to support teachers and how are you approaching that? We really see teachers as a central element in taking this forward and to the success of leveraging EdTech in the classroom in particular. In the next slide, just sharing very quickly this EdTech for Good framework, which we hope will be useful for you. It's a framework that actually Beth has also greatly contributed to and intends to be used to very comprehensively evaluate EdTech solutions across different criteria, including around inclusion and safety and evidence of impact. And solutions which meet the criteria end up in a curated platform, which we call the Learning Cabinet. We have so far evaluated several hundred EdTech tools. It's the tip of the iceberg, of course, because there's more than 100,000 tools out there, an incredible number. But we are trying to identify what are the really innovative and impactful and adaptable ones that we can leverage in challenging contexts, especially. And of those, we have an even smaller kind of subset of those that really have huge potential to reach millions in these challenging contexts. And those we call blue unicorns and are part of our blue unicorn portfolio. So in the next slide, just giving a very high-level overview of the EdTech for Good framework. I'd say what is unique to it, because of course it's not the only framework out there, and we're working closely with other organizations that have developed EdTech frameworks. But what I'd say is quite unique to it is the inclusion element. How do we ensure that we leave no child behind? How do we make sure that these EdTech solutions work also in offline context, that they can work on low cost and shared devices, that they are designed for children, and have safety at the heart and data protection measures and so forth. And then also evidence of impact is really a critical factor as well, and something we not only try to encourage, but also we are also very much involved in doing impact research, working with EdTech companies in a variety of contexts around the world. So for the next slide, just these are all frameworks and concepts and strategies, but this is rooted in the realities on the ground through what we call a Learning Pioneers program, and those are the countries, currently 12 around the world, where we work with the government hand in hand to identify what are the big education challenges that they want to address. And then once those challenges have been identified, matching it with solutions, EdTech tools from the Learning Cabinet, and then testing it out in those contexts, adapting the tools, contextualizing, conducting impact research, and then developing models for scale, which are tailored to the specific national context. And that's something that we started about a year ago, and now working in 12 countries and further expanding next year. Maybe just I think what the final slide is, the next slide, which is how can we as UNICEF working with partners support this global network of EdTech alliances. And I think, in working with EdTech companies, we have seen that they face many different challenges. There's challenges in terms of, finding investors, tapping into global markets. How do you leverage the latest innovations? It's changing so rapidly. How do you remain competitive? How do you adapt the solutions to different contexts and different curricula and different languages? How do you tap into opportunities for mentorship? And how do you, based on the EdTech for Good framework, make the solutions more inclusive, more impactful, more scalable? So these are things where we as UNICEF could support, and that includes through, our Learning Pioneers work, the process of, going through the evaluation and entering our learning cabinet. And we really stand ready to be a key driver together with UNESCO, with the European EdTech Alliance and others to take this forward with all of you. And I think this is a wonderful start to bring us all together. And as I mentioned, I think the missing layer that we have very much needed over the past years, it's now here, and really keen to engage with you on this together. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Frank. And it's nice to bring that missing layer together. I think just very quickly as to sort of why the European EdTech Alliance is doing this. This is not intended to be a European initiative. That's very clear from us from the start. We do, however, have capacity to support as it helps to build at the moment, and we want to put as much of our effort and time into helping this as we possibly can. But this initiative is something that should be driven by all of you. It should belong to all of you, and it should be something that truly has global representation. So whilst at the moment it has a European beginning, it is not intended to stay that way, and that's very important for us. And so it's really exciting for me that we can have some of our first supporting organizations that agreed to us before we actually even had an organization to agree to talk with us today, and that we can hear a little bit from their perspective why it's so important. We've heard from our great supporters in UNESCO and UNICEF and the drivers behind this, and then understanding from the perspective of the local environments, what could an organization like this bring? Why is it so important? And then what kind of actions could we do together that would actually make a true difference in your environments? And with that, I'd love to hand over to Tom Poole, my colleague, who has also been leading all of these efforts on behalf of the EdTech Alliance. And I'm very grateful to you as well, Tom. Lots of gratitude today. And I know that many of you have been speaking to Tom over the past couple of weeks. And so with that, Tom, I hand the word over to you.
Thank you for the introduction, Beth. And yeah, passing on that gratitude to everyone who's registered and signed up for today. I think such good turnout, and I think it shows that it was really a timely launch for the Alliance of Alliances. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Greetings from Dubai, where I am at the moment. My name's Tom Poole. Really happy that today I can moderate the session where we have our four of our initial Alliance supporters from Ghana, Uruguay, India, and Kenya. So welcome to Ernest, Carolina, Aditya, and Jennifer. I think the slides have come down and they just had the names of the people and their titles, if that can come back up in a sec. So we'll go through some questions with these the founding members and hear some of their thoughts and what they see as being such key reasons for why they've got involved with the alliances from its launch. So firstly, coming to Ernest. So Ernest, from the Ghana Society for Education Technology, what do you see as the benefits as being for this building a global community and facilitating knowledge exchange around EdTech innovation ecosystems? Quickly introduce where you're from and your organization as well, if that's okay.
Okay, thank you very much, Tom. I hope you can hear me clearly. Sure, and congratulations to you and everybody else who made today possible. It's a pleasure to be here to interact with all of you. My name is Ernest Gabon from the Ghana Society for Education Technology and the African EdTech Exchange as well. And to answer your question, Tom, I think today is such a significant day for all those of us who play in the EdTech space, especially in Africa as well. For me, the benefits of building a global EdTech community and exchanging knowledge like the AOA, there are several benefits, but probably I'll highlight two for the sake of time. One, for me, would be the collective strength to tackle the learning crisis. joining a global community like this multiplies our impact. We are all doing works in our silos, but a global force like this then tends to multiply our impact in addressing Africa's educational challenges. I guess most of us here will agree that no single country or organization in Africa or anywhere else alone can solve a crisis where we are told by our partners, UNESCO, that 98 million African children are out of school and nearly 90% of 10-year-olds cannot read a single text. That cannot be solved by any single organization, not my organization, not any other. So for us, combining resources and our resolve, will make us achieve the SDGs 4 better or quicker or more effectively. That would be one. Then number two for me would be, because this conversation tends to be silos, as Beth mentioned, this was started from the European perspective, but very often in conversations like this, you tend to lose some regional diversity. So an alliance of alliances like the AOA will then ensure that African voices and innovations are heard on a global stage. Those are the two main things: ensuring that our voices as African countries, bringing the African solutions to global attention and assessing international expertise and tools for our local use. And the first one I mentioned was the collective strength to tackle the learning crisis will be the two benefits that I will highlight for now.
Yeah, brilliant. Thanks, Ernest. And, from being a supporter from the outset of when we spoke about this, great to have you with us. And thanks for sharing that with us. And then the same, Carolina, how does SABAL and Red Lake benefit from building a global community and facilitating knowledge exchange around EdTech innovation ecosystems? Again, Carolina, if you don't mind a quick introduction to yourself and organization too.
Okay. My name is Carolina Duer, and I work as academic coordinator of EdTech initiative at Fundación Ceibal. Hi, everybody. Congratulations for this initiative. It is really an honor to be sharing this lunch event with you. Regarding to this interesting question, firstly, the opportunity to exchange about problem solutions in terms of public policies, share learnings so that successful models can be adapted to different countries and bring back innovations from other contexts. Also, among non-government organizations, the possibility of getting practical help from peers who solved similar issues. Secondly, the chance of joining forces to influence the global EdTech agenda and mobilize political support. We consider that international alliances help defend and promote equitable EdTech policies. Thirdly, it would be interesting to work jointly developing comparative research in order to identify shared trends as well as differing approaches. We could think about this in relation to the development of a typology of public strategies for the integration of digital technologies in education, matters related to ensuring that the integration of technologies is appropriate for culturally diverse contexts, exploring the main focus areas of digital technology integration in education, if it is more concentrated in school management or administrative processes, or in actions aimed at strengthening learning, a focus on what is going on in terms of partnerships among governments, the private sector, and non-government organizations. In the end, what matters most is building bridges between countries, between disciplines, between research and policies. That's what we are trying to do at Fundación Ceibal and through the EdTech initiative, to strengthen local capacities while contributing to a shared global understanding of what meaningful digital transformation in education really looks like. Thank you, Tom.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Carolina. Yeah, no, I think lots there that resonates and some parts that even aligned with what Anna said. And I really like what you said about the idea of building bridges. It feels to me like this is a lot what the Alliance stands for. So fantastic to recognize that. And then we have Aditya from the India Didactics Association. Aditya, do you mind answering that question again? How do you see the building of this global community facilitating knowledge exchange around EdTech innovation ecosystems? How does that support you and your work in India at the IDA?
Yeah. Hi, Tom. Hi, Beth, and good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody, wherever you are. Good to be here. I represent the India Didactic Associations. We are the National Association for Education and Skills in the country. I think I come with a little bit of a unique background we always say India is probably not a country, it's a continent with 28 countries within it. But keeping that diversity in mind, our motto is very clear. We are very different from each other, yet we are very similar. We all have seen different diversities and different issues in different countries. But when we see the problems around education, we do realize it's pretty similar. So our motto is always learning continues. And I think this whole concept of Alliance of Alliances is in that space. Learning continues from each other. Why reinvent the wheel? We need to make sure that we're always one step ahead of the curve. And I think some of our friends, and I see a lot of my friends here from over the years we've worked together, would agree that EdTech is evolving and evolving pretty fast. When we talk about the impact of things like AI and generative AI, we can't be one step behind. So how do we stay one step ahead? It is by learning from each other and what's happening, learning what has been done in one part of the world and how it can impact another part without having to go through the learning cycle all over again. So I think that's one thing which excited us about the Alliance of Alliances. Then, of course, we are talking about the fact that, it's EdTech, and EdTech, we talk about in education, the whole concept of we need to learn, we need to have a lifelong learning process. But do we practice it as association people? That learning is something which is lifelong, and therefore we need to be together. And somewhere in the space where we are in India, we've seen, and I'm sure some of you would have seen it in your countries, technology, because it's so fast changing, we sometimes feel that humanity is getting left far behind. Technology is driving human actions rather than the other way around. So I was excited about when I heard the whole thing about education for good and tech for good, but we need to have this concept together on saying EdTech for good, EdTech which is different for everybody, EdTech which will have different meanings for different cities, different countries, different institutions. But together, can we find what is good for us? And does technology then, which percolates down to our children in our schools and colleges, have a meaning, have a purpose? So it's EdTech for good. And I think that together, we may not be able to create equality, but we can definitely create equity so that, we can support each other wherever we can, whether it is through impact on ground in our different countries or through our resources, which can be shared and pooled. But I think when this concept came in and Tom spoke to us, so this was something which we've been thinking about it for long. I see my friend Rabi here from Lebanon. He would remember that we spoke about this some 4 or 5 years back. So this is an exciting news and happy to be part of this initiative. Whatever we can not just learn and take, like Tom said, for India, but I think it's important that we all start believing what can we contribute from our countries into this initiative. That's all from my side.
Thank you so much, Aditya. And yes, no, as someone, I think you've kind of practiced the messaging that we want from the Alliance of the Alliances over the years. You've got an extensive EdTech community from countries all over the world. So great to have you and your expertise from India Didactics Association with us. I think from what you said there, like the two things that stood out to me, the equality and equity piece, I think they're really vital components of what we want to do with the Alliance of Alliances. And I think it's great that everyone sort of sees that as almost founding pillars of what we're trying to do. And then same question again so Jennifer joins us from EdTech East Africa. So Jennifer, great to have you with us. If you give us a brief introduction to what you're doing, and also EdTech East Africa, how does EdTech East Africa benefit from building a global community and facilitating knowledge exchange and EdTech innovation systems?
Amazing. Thanks, Tom, and thanks, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. My name is Jennifer Otieno, and I'm a co-founder of EdTech East Africa alongside Missy Mwendwa. I am very happy to be here because I think one of the exciting things about this community is it's formalizing something that many of us have done informally for a number of years. We started EdTech East Africa 11 years ago this month. Started as very, very humble beginnings as EdTech Nairobi with fewer people in the room than are on this call today. And, you know, have grown over the years and have had the privilege of learning from other ecosystems. So I remember as we started to grow from Nairobi to Kenya to East Africa, being able to reach out to colleagues, for example, Mike from EdTech Asia, and saying, we got introduced and he was excited to hear that what we were building in East Africa. And, you know, we had a chance to learn from the work that they had done. I think I saw Nico on the call when I came to Helsinki and knocked on Nico's door and said, hey, can you tell me about the growth of your ecosystem? He generously shared what they had been doing. And of course, Ernest and I have been, you know, exchanging East and West Africa. I think I saw Kelly from South Africa on the call. So this is a group of friends. These are, you know, people who have already joined forces to try and learn from each other, to try and figure out how can we support each other as we build our EdTech ecosystems, believing wholeheartedly that this is not something a single actor can do alone. We have to do it together. We need to collaborate. We need to support each other. And we want to be able to accelerate that pace of progress. We want to see how we can elevate the ecosystems that are maybe more nascent than ours. How can we help bring them along with us? And how can we help what took us 11 years? How can it maybe take them 3, right? And we elevate that work together. And so I think there's so much to be learned. We all operate in very unique contexts, and we know this, but I think there's so much that we can benefit from seeing. How do other ecosystems, for example, how do they measure success? What does a healthy ecosystem look like? How are people collaborating with their partners in government? What are the ways in which those successful private-public sector collaborations are happening? How are they evolving over time? And what can we be doing to make that journey smoother, more successful, and again, like Ernest said, achieving those goals of addressing the learning crisis together. And maybe just to echo what Ernest said in terms of elevating African voices, I think we have incredible innovations that are coming from the continent. One of our longtime members of EdTech East Africa is one of the blue unicorns, working with Frank and his team. And it's amazing to see that happening and to be able to be cheering them on and figuring out how do we make more of those blue unicorns? How are they getting their voices onto the global stage? We're excited to be a part of that and making sure that those perspectives, those beautifully earned wisdom, but you know, jewels of wisdom are actually contributing to global conversations in a meaningful way. So we're really excited to be here, and thanks so much to Tom and the team for including us.
Brilliant. Thank you, Jennifer. And yes, as you say, someone who's developed your own alliance over the years and taken EdTech East Africa to where it is today. And you did touch on there the work that you started with Ernest. And I think that's really, really exciting. Hearing about the Africa EdTech Exchange as well and how that develops is really, really exciting to see. We're going to go back through our speakers again there. And we have a follow-up question to that. And actually, it would be really interesting if anyone's got any ideas that they'd like to put in the chat at the same time. I think this could really help us as we look to sort of build out and develop what the Alliance will do. So it's really, can you give us, what are the concrete actions that you believe that the Alliance of Alliances could take, which would make a big difference to your local environment? So starting with Ernest, if we come back to you.
Okay, thank you very much, Tom. From my context again, you know, in Africa today, only about 40% of primary schools, and we are told about 50% of lower secondary schools have internet access. And that is a stark reality. So for me, one of the concrete things the Alliance of Alliance should do, mostly through advocacy, is to push to bridge the connectivity and hardware gap across African schools. You know, if we are to solve the challenge we have where over 60% of schools are not connected online. I think the Alliance should be very deep in pushing for major tech firms to fund school connectivity, rural broadband, solar-powered computer labs, etc. You know, I'm sure by pulling resources this way and the influence that the Alliance brings, we can help the remaining 60% of schools come online and equip them with the needed devices to be able to participate in EdTech. Because if we talk about EdTech, once the device is not there, the connectivity is not there, no matter what we do, our targets, which are at school, the education system will still not benefit. So for me, number one would be for the AOA to advocate for connection of the unconnected. And my number two would be probably the Alliance considering, should I call it a global EdTech innovation fund for underserved regions like Africa and Asia and other places. You know, I believe should any fund of that nature be done, then it can help address the funding gap in African EdTechs through various funding mechanisms. Because today, with all donor support, etc., all African EdTech startups combined attracted roughly about $200 million, which is very, very little when you compare to the amount of money available for the global EdTech community. So some level of coordinated, focused funding facilitation towards underserved communities will be very, very important in addition to connecting the unconnected.
Yes, thank you so much, Ernest. I think, yeah, there's a couple of really strong, valid points there, and definitely areas that we'll look to utilize the Alliance to support. It's something that you and I have spoken about for a good few years now, about how to elevate and support African EdTech companies to get the level of investment, the level of mentorship that counterparts in Europe or the US might see. So I think that's something we can very genuinely focus on with the Alliance. But thank you again for joining us, Ernest. Carolina, coming to you next. So can you talk us through some of the concrete actions that you think in relation to your work at Ceibal and in Uruguay?
Sure. At Fundación Ceibal, we believe that some concrete actions could be to foster peer mentoring networks that pair countries or organizations according to the maturity level of their digital transformation in education, or around a more specific issue. For example, Fundación Ceibal from Uruguay mentoring a newer national initiative. Number two, working together on knowledge exchange and collaborative evidence generation, maybe producing short practical briefs from research findings. Number three, actions related to the creation of shared standards as the EdTech for Good framework. For example, co-developed common guidelines on ethical and data governance, or common evaluation frameworks, create shared templates for evaluating EdTech tools and services that local ministries can adapt, or tools to help countries assess, track their own EdTech ecosystem development. Number four, ensure that global initiatives reinforce local systems without overlooking social and cultural particularities. In this sense, a concrete action could be the adaptation of global tools or frameworks together with local educators or designers. In summary, a global EdTech alliance of alliances adds value when it connects local to global without overshadowing local ownership, translates global knowledge into local action, and creates reciprocal learning loops between regions. Thank you.
Thank you so much again, Carolina, for that. Yes, I think really, I think everything that we've spoken about so far, the emphasis, that kind of the local approach, working with the local innovators, the local teachers, that feels paramount to what we're doing with the Alliance, and hopefully we can all work together to see how we can develop that as a collaborative group. Okay, then next, following up to that question with Aditya, I mean, what is it that you would like to see in the work that you're doing in India with the association, the IDA? What is it that you want to see from the alliance that will really support your work, but also support the ecosystem in India?
Yeah, Tom. Okay, so like I said, you know, I don't want to repeat what most of our speakers have said in the past, and I think it's all relevant. Everything which all of our speakers are contributing has meaning, and it will all add to the alliance of alliances. We are starting out, so I'm assuming that as we move along, we will develop our own path and find whatever we need to do as alliance of alliances. And because it's EdTech, we can't go slow. We'll probably be going at a rapid pace. That's the nature of the sector we are in. But I think the most important part which the alliance of alliances needs to do is connecting dots. It needs to have this understanding that there is knowledge sharing, there is sharing of resources in all capacities. We spoke about, you know, devices. So it could be in some areas, some parts of the world, there could be basic technology which is required. Is there some way we can support that region with basic devices to bridge the gap, reduce inequalities, try and bring and make sure that everybody moves along together? It could be something as simple as capacity building with teachers. EdTech is evolving pretty quick. Can EdTech be used for evolving capacities? And it could be teachers, trainers, faculties, or the users themselves. I think one of the speakers that just mentioned about standards, and I think I would be very interested in looking at standards, specifically when it comes to AI. What are the global standards? And standards could be set for tech companies and to where they are implementing, you know, tech in education, and standards could be set for education institutes to talk about how much tech are they using. We are seeing a lot of impact of AI, right? Deep fake or cybercrime and children being prone to that. So I think that could be something which Alliance of Alliances could get into. So responsible tech, I think, is important. I look at it because my membership base in India is almost 88,000 educators and educational institutions. And we work with 600 plus corporate members. And I would definitely see that disparity happening in the country. And if it's happening within India, then I think it's happening globally as well. So what's important is how do we connect these dots? Another aspect which I think definitely which we should look at from an EdTech point of view is understanding the needs and looking at the skill mobility side of it globally. And I think EdTech has a very big role to play there. We have regions where we have good young manpower. What they don't have is skilled capacities. Can tech and EdTech be used to bridge that gap, to cover and get those skilled employable workforce to the countries where they need it? So I think those are some of the areas which Alliance of Alliances can get into, understanding where the gaps are without looking who's providing for them, just identifying those gaps, and then working with the members who would be keen to support those, filling up those gaps and trying to make a real impact. But what I feel we should be looking at is giving ourselves clear tasks, clear deadlines, and saying, what are we achieving from year 1 to year 2? So it's days, it's not years. So it's 365 days. What have we achieved? Where have we moved? Have we moved the needle? Is world a better place because of Alliance of Alliances? And I think if we can start looking at creating those measurable impacts, the alliance will have done a lot of good to the sector.
Thank you, Aditya. Again, great, fantastic points there. And I think certainly looking at, you know, this whole alliance has to be driven by the outcomes that we kind of collectively come up with. So I think that's very, very clear for setting this out from the start, that we're very clear of what we want to do and what we want to achieve in those first 1, 2, 3 years and beyond. So thank you again for joining us, Aditya. And then finally, coming back to Jennifer. So in the context of East Africa, kind of what are the concrete actions that you would like to see as part of the alliance?
So many great ideas shared already, but maybe just to add two. One, I think, would be a bit of the curation of kind of connections. So, you know, if, for example, I raise my hand and I say, I need help with X, you know, can the Alliance of Alliances match me with someone either who's going through the same journey and we walk that road together to stay motivated to keep each other accountable, to help each other make progress against that goal, or to someone who's maybe already been down that path and can help advise and guide. I think, doing a bit of that curation on our behalf, knowing who's working on what, and being able to connect the dots, I think would be incredibly powerful to help us, again, be able to leverage the wisdom that's truly in this community. And I think the other thing would be to, Suraj actually mentioned this in the chat, but sort of maybe almost creating these smaller groups of people who, again, are trying to figure out kind of a big tension. So Suraj mentioned, how do we work with governments? If there's a group that really wants to dive deep on that and say, let's map out the models of partnership. Let's go deep on what this actually looks like when we bring public-private sector together at scale, at a country or regional level. What do those kinds of partnerships look like? Or if we want to say we really want to have a group that's focused on EdTech for equity and inclusion, what does that mean across contexts? And particularly, what does it mean when a solution from one area of the world wants to come into another area of the world? How do we make sure that they have that understanding of what equity and inclusion means in context in a new region or new country? And I think being able to have the Alliance, support that kind of collaboration, knowledge sharing, to make sure that we're keeping kids at the center, we recognize that context matters, and that we're supporting that kind of collaboration to make those kinds of that kind of impact possible.
Absolutely, that's brilliant. Again, thank you so much, Jennifer. I think I think there's so much that's been covered there. I've honestly not been able to keep track of what's going on in the chat, but I've seen there's a lot of great points there. And it shows, this is what we've been together for 45, 50 minutes there, and the ideas that are coming out as a result of that. Brilliant. So Ernest, Carolina, Aditya, and Jennifer, thank you all for joining us as our founding supporters of the Alliance of Alliances today. And I should also say we've got such a great turnout, I think over 50 people with us. And I know that a number of the participants are other alliances and associations who are joining. And sorry that not everyone got a chance to have the screen time today, but certainly in future there'll be many more opportunities, and looking forward to sharing that with everyone then. I think next up, I have a few slides to run through about the Alliance of Alliances itself, where we have come from and what the sort of next steps are. So if it's possible to have the slides, there we go. Apologies for the pixelated image of me. I have to change that. So we can go straight to the first slide there for the strategic rationale. So I've spoken to lots of you already, and lots of you have really bought into what the vision is for the Alliance of Alliances. We've heard from some of our founding supporters, we've heard from Boren, we've heard from Frank, and I think just to go through a bit about where it started from and then where we are. As we know, there is no single convening body for EdTech alliances globally. So that cross-regional collaboration, knowledge exchange piece is valuable, and I think even more so, we've just heard from some of our initial supporters, and I think the thing that really came through in all of those is that opportunity for knowledge exchange between countries and regions all around the world. So a really, really vital first point there for why this was convened. Yes, the unified voice for international education policy, this is absolutely vital. I think now more so than potentially ever before. And I think just the global EdTech community coming together, as we've seen today, to share those ideas and, everyone to have their takeaways they can take home, but also to form ideas together about how we're going and taking those conversations at a advocating for policy level, working locally, supporting teachers, I think is really, really important. I think naturally a collaborative platform like the Alliance of Alliances, it does offer that chance to share and to spend time with each other. And I think that the one thing that stood out to me is conversations I've had developing the community and having lots of these the different members that we've got with us today is there's time zone differences, language differences, cultural differences, but I think when it comes to education and EdTech, there's so much more that is similar there than perhaps meets the eye. I think someone touched on this earlier, and I think really taking that forward and understanding the world is much smaller than you think in many ways. Of course, a major part of the Alliance of Alliances is going to be how it looks to support and empower EdTech ecosystems in developing economies to come to fruition. I think Beth touched on it earlier, but the fundamental founding kind of mission part of the Alliance of Alliances is really that it is truly representative from all around the world. It should represent EdTech in every single corner of the world. And I think to be truly representative, you need stakeholders from every part of the world. So not just on the places where there are existing ecosystems, alliances already, it's going in and supporting the areas where there is EdTech, but there's perhaps not the association or the alliance. And I think it's really important those voices are heard and included as part of the global alliance. And then finally, it's in supporting the development of these new ecosystems. It's about doing this in a really structured, thoughtful way that completely aims at supporting countries and their ecosystems in a long-term, sustainable way. I think doing this, really thinking about 10, 20 years into the future and beyond, it serves the needs of the EdTechs, yes, in the short term, but it's about how that knock-on effect to the teachers, the students, the schools themselves, and obviously to the government stakeholders is where it's really, really important. Next slide, if that's okay. So very quickly touching on the supporters, and as you'll see, and I've said before, a brilliant turnout today. You'll see everyone that we've got on board there, and great, thank you all once again for joining. So we've been going on a model of expressions of interest so far, so we don't have a full membership model just now, but it's all in the pipeline and moving along. But so far, from what will be 20 expressions of interest between the associations and alliances that they represent, that's more than 100 countries that are covered there. So huge amount of potential in this. And again, thanks everyone for sort of understanding what the collective group is trying to do and getting on board. And yes, the next steps here are how do we move from, yes, we want to be a part of this, to we are founding members. And that's very much what comes next. Next slide, please. Just to very quickly give people an idea of what we see the alliance partners being, and as we launch. So first of all, we have those what we've described as mission hosts. So Global Education Coalition, UNICEF's EdTech for Good, regional government groups as well. These are really the kind of cross-governmental supporters driving the mission, helping us to sort of set actions and endorse the alliance. Then, of course, we have the members themselves, which at this point is generally associations, alliances, sometimes it's EdTech accelerators. In some cases, we'll be working with education or digital agencies that fall under a Ministry of Education as well. Then we also have mission supporters. So this is where we're looking at sort of global, regional, philanthropic, supranational support partners. Could also be from the private sector as well, who are really supporting and want to invest into the development of ecosystems, skills development, and resource development. And then strategic partners, again, I think since we've announced this, there's been a huge number of people who have said, how can we get involved and support this? And we're going to be kind of finalizing exactly what a strategic partner is. This could be an organization who supports the strategic vision, who has certain resources that could be really readily available to support ecosystems, other resources, action-based funding as well. And then finally, report sponsors. So there is, that we'll certainly be looking at how we can use the work of the Alliance to feed into reports. And we understand that there will be foundations, philanthropic groups, private sector as well, who'd look to support us on that too. Next slide. So just very briefly where we are, the action and impact, you know, as I think we've kind of collectively said today, it feels like there is a real purpose and vision there. And I think keeping true to that as we launch and continue is completely vital. So some of those initial actions we'll have in-country knowledge exchange events, workshops that are connected to UNESCO's Digital Transformation Collaborative. Developing resources is going to be really, really important. Looking to build skills in regions, ensuring EdTech evaluation is focused on safety and good, and you know, a huge amount of concern around local data gathering, informing targeted support and global understanding. And then some of the areas that we're looking to create impact as we launch is the global voice we've spoken about for digital education, knowledge exchange, access to resources, local support, working with local stakeholders and ambassadors to really drive a lot of this forward. Supporting some of the local procurement channels as well is going to be a very key part of this. I think next slide. Yes, so Then wanted to very quickly touch upon where we are and what the next steps are for now. So again, this is very much seen as the soft online launch, but we're working towards an in-person official launch, which will be at the UNESCO Global Education Coalition, which I believe, and feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, anyone, is in March 2026. So where we are right now is that by December, that will be looking to just finalize all of those founding groups. So continuing, I think there's 3 or 4 groups who are on the call today who hopefully will be able to firm up and join us. That will be by December. And we will also be starting to compile those shared resources to send out to developing ecosystems by the end of this year. The aim by January is to secure and finalize the global and regional funding structure so that we'll be able to roll out in January 2026. We'll also be able to finally officialize that as membership rather than just the supporter by January 2026. And we'll also aim for another convening. Online is very likely at this point in January, where we'll get everyone together again, and then we'll put our heads together, which has worked very well today. Then we will have the AGM as part of the Global Education Coalition in March 2026. And then finally, as part of that, will be where we really look to designate the governance model, the board structure, secretariat at that AGM. So that is it. I believe that was the final slide, unless, yes. So anyway, that's everything from me. Just before I finish up, yeah, huge thanks to everyone again for kind of believing in this, getting on board, you know, me following up on many emails. It's great to see so many of you here, and I think so many that have such a shared sort of vision to what this can look like. And I'm certainly really excited about being a part of it.
Thank you so much, Tom. And as you can see from this slide, this is my big call to action. Help us, help to define the Alliance and make it something that's useful for you and actually serves you in your locations, and help us understand where the support is maybe needed most, where we haven't found an alliance yet. So if any of you are in touch with alliances that we haven't been able to reach yet, or communities of practice that maybe want to become an alliance where we can help them with resources, please let us know. We'd really love to reach out to as many as possible by the end of this year, so that we're making sure that, as was said before, we can truly have that global representation, but so that the Alliance of Alliances can truly ensure that all voices are heard. It's something that has been moving us and driving us. And I think I've loved listening to all of these ideas today. And I think sharing is the basis of all the work that we do. And the reason why even the European EdTech Alliance exists is to help each other and to try and serve through knowledge exchange. And so I think I want to maybe leave our part as well to say, to pick up on what was said around seeing so many friends. I see so many familiar faces, and I see so many people who I really want to get to know and learn more from and with. And I'm so excited to get to do that. And I'm so grateful again to the drivers who are helping us, with Baran and also with Frank, and with all of the communities present here today who gave us their time. And I have loved seeing where everyone is from, everywhere from Africa to South America to even Korea. So it was so exciting to see that real global representation today. I can only hope it moves forward. And I'm so grateful you joined us today. Please stay in touch. We have contacts there. Otherwise, you can find us at the moment still through the European EdTech Alliance website. Otherwise, you can reach out to Tom, you can reach out to myself, or any of the others that are here as well to find us. But please do get involved, help us to shape this to be what you all need it to be. And I'm so excited that we can be a part of it. So thank you for joining us today. Thank you to all of the speakers, and we really look forward to working with you soon.
Bravo, Beth and Tom. Excellent. We have a good start. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. See you next time.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Thank you.